What's going on, guys? Welcome back into Offsides with Ethan Petrik. I'm your host, as always, Ethan Petrik. No big news in the hockey landscape this week. Last week we saw Mike Emmerich, longtime broadcaster for NBC Sports, retire. The week before that, talked a little bit about just different free agent signings. And first episode, we shouted out the champs. This week, not much going on. We're in the thick of the off season. Not a lot's happening free agent wise, and we're just motoring on with our team classifications here for the Metropolitan Division. So just like last week when we went after the Atlantic, I'll be going team by team in the Metropolitan Division, telling you where I feel they will fall this next season as currently constructed. Possibly one move that I would make if I was their GM. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think that. So starting off in reverse order, or in order of the standings last year, we have the Washington Capitals. This is a team I have as a playoff lock. Some people might want to call them a serious contender. However, Henrik Lundqvist joins the team to share time with Ilya Samsonov. They didn't lose anybody big other than Holtby. And I didn't really view them as serious title contenders last season. I think they showed in the playoffs that they weren't necessarily the most unbeatable team. I don't think that they're the team that they were when they won the Stanley Cup. So because of that, I have them as a playoff lock. I don't really have one player that I'd like to see them go out and get, but I would like to see a little bit more of youth infused into their lineup. That'd be one move that I would make is go out and look for younger players. Nicholas Backstrom, Alexander Ovechkin, they have manned that team's offense for so long that you have to anticipate a slowdown. And it appears, judging from last season in the bubble playoff, they are beginning to slow down. So I would look into getting more youth. You saw Evgeny Kuznetsov come up through the system a couple years ago. He's a star in the NHL now. What else do the Washington Capitals have that they can bring and become an NHL prospect? That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see them infuse their lineup with some youth, some talented youth on that bottom six. Next up, we have the Flyers. This is another team that I have as a playoff lock. They also have not made a ton of offseason moves. They have a good blend of youth and veteran leadership. There's a team on the rise. You got Shane Gostisbehere, Carter Hart, younger guys who are looking to make a name for themselves in the NHL, probably already have made a name for themselves, but continuing to establish their legacy. Claude Giroux, Voracek, those guys have been with the Flyers for a long time now. They're established stars in the NHL. So I think that of the teams in the Metropolitan Division, the Flyers are probably best constructed to make a run at the Stanley Cup. However, I do not think that it's in the cards for any of the teams in the Metro. You saw me put two teams from the Atlantic, the Bruins and the Lightning, as serious title contenders. So I don't really view the Metropolitan in the same glowing light. I don't like their top end talent for teams, but it's a very deep division. It's a very deep. We'll get into it later. It's very deep. They have a lot of teams that I really like. But for the Flyers, can Carter Hart continue to improve? Where are they going to get their scoring from? Giroux, Voracek, they're getting up there. Are those guys going to continue to produce? Are they going to fall off a cliff? Like we've seen a number of guys recently. So I'll be interested to watch the Flyers this season. If they can take a step up, maybe get some scoring help somewhere, find it somewhere. I think that the Flyers have the best potential to move into serious contender category, but I don't anticipate that being what ends up happening for the Flyers as they're currently constructed. Moving on to the Penguins, I have them as a fringe playoff, and I would say that most people overvalue the Penguins. They shipped Matt Murray out of town. They're rolling with Tristan Jarry in net. They lose Connor Sheary in free agency. No one's signed him yet that I'm aware of, but he was a very crucial part of that offense. I think he was a very underrated part of that offense. He wasn't going to light up the stat sheet, but he was going to play a solid 200-foot game. And he was going to he helped the Penguins in more ways than people would think. And so trying to replace him is going to be a lot more difficult, and I don't think they're going to be successful. And they just haven't done enough to move the needle towards playoff lock even. They've been a playoff lock over the entire Sidney Crosby era, but given how they're currently constructed, I just do not foresee them having a successful season. We saw them with 2 NHL caliber goalies in Murray and Jari, and they didn't even win this division. They weren't even top 2 in the division. So because of that, and the fact that they're losing what I see as a very crucial locker room guy in Connor Sheary, I think the Penguins are going to take a step back heading into this next season. Moving on to the Carolina Hurricanes. I have them as a playoff lock. This is a team that I have been calling to finally pop off for years now. The first time I did it was in 2017. I said that they were going to make the playoffs, and their coach at the time was going to win the Jack Adams Coach of the Year award. That did not end up happening, but this year, I feel that they finally have all the pieces in place to be a big contender in the playoffs. Maybe not be a serious contender, but they're definitely one of my playoff locks. They could win this division if they keep up the momentum they had in the bubble. One thing I'm worried about is they have not had goalie figured out for much of this past decade. So I'll be interested to see if Peter Mrazek can take a step up. I don't think so. He's already established who he is in the NHL, and that's not a world-beating goalie. They have great defense in Carolina, and they have great offense. The net is a huge question mark for me, and that worries me. It's probably something that kept them away from being a serious contender. That and their resume is not that of a serious contender. So I'm keeping them at playoff lock for now. But look for a big step forward from the Carolina Hurricanes this year. Sebastian Aho, Svechnikov, Teuvo Teravainen, all great offensive players. Hayden Fleury, Dougie Hamilton are probably one of the top 3 defensive pairings in the NHL. So be on the look for the Carolina Hurricanes to make a big move in just their status as a team this year. 5th-ranked team from last year was the Columbus Blue Jackets. I have them as a fringe playoff team. This is another team with likable pieces. They've improved each season. They have great defense. They have 3 NHL caliber goalies. I want to put them as a lock, but the Metro is just too deep to just say that all these teams are locks, because you have to understand that there's only 2 wild cards, only three automatic bids per division, and then 2 wild cards. It's very difficult to put 5 in from one division. It probably happens every year, but it's tough to bet on. And I don't want to say that it's for sure going to happen. It's definitely a possibility. The Columbus Blue Jackets are a very talented team. They have a very deep defensive core. I worry about where their scoring is coming from. They think they have that solution in Max Domi replacing Josh Anderson. I'm not sure who won that trade. It appears right now that the Blue Jackets won that trade, but we'll have to see both players on their new teams to figure out who won it. But right now, I am questioning where the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to get their offense from. We know that they're solid in net. We know they're solid on the blue line. Where are they going to get the scoring in the offensive end? And also, I'll be interested to see. That's what I'm looking for, is can they show me that they have an offense early? If they do that, this would be a very easy team to move into a playoff lock, possibly move the Penguins down. But there's a lot. This is a fluid division. I think that the heavyweights, the Capitals, and the Penguins, who have been at the top the last couple of years, they are going to begin ceding their power. And we'll see the teams like the Flyers, Blue Jackets, and Hurricanes take control of the division and run it until those powerhouses can rebuild, retool. The 6th team, another really bright future young team who has shown that they can win in the NHL, New York Islanders. The New York Islanders have surpassed all expectations in the post-Jonathan Tavares era. I don't think anyone had them pegged as a competitor, but it seems like this Islanders squad will take any game, any night. Doesn't matter who they're playing. They can score like crazy. I don't know who's. There's another team who needs to figure out who they have in net. They had Robin Lehner. He was good for them, and they let him go. So if they want to compete, if they want to be a playoff lock, I need to see a solid every night kind of guy in net, or a platoon of 2 guys who can do it every night. It would have been interesting to me if they had gone after Henrik Lundqvist, or maybe even gone after Corey Crawford, established vets to shore up that net. But it seems like they're going to roll with what they have, and I'm not sure if it's already proven that it's not good enough. So I'm not sure what they see that they think it's good enough. So keep your eyes on the net in New York. 7th ranked team from last year. It's a very interesting team coming into this next season. It's the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers, I can't classify. They have a bright future, that's for sure. But they could be fringe playoff. But at the same time, they could be draft purgatory. They could end up in that 11 to 14 spot in the draft and be draft purgatory. They could have a bright future where they're picking from around picks 6 to 10. Or they could make the playoffs. It all depends on Alexis Lafreniere. If he pops off right away, right out of the gate, I don't care if he comes on strong late in the season. If he comes in from day one and plays like an all-star caliber player in the league, like everyone expects him to be eventually, this Rangers team will make the playoffs. They are very, very solid at every position. Offense, defense. Goalie is a question mark. I've said that about a lot of teams in the Metro, but there's kind of a lack of goaltending talent in the NHL right now. I think that's just because we see a lot more scoring as the rules move towards a more offensively focused game. But at the same time, there are still goalies out there that can go down and shut down opposing teams. And the Rangers have no proven goalie in net. That'll be something to watch for. And along with Alexis Lafreniere, could make or break the season for the Rangers. But just given the young talent on this team, combine that with Artemi Panarin, I would like to say that I see a quick end to the rebuild this season from New York. And the team that finished in last place in the Metropolitan Division is the New Jersey Devils. This team is in draft purgatory. They're staying in draft purgatory this next year. They were in the same situation as the Rangers last offseason. I could have said they have a bright future, draft purgatory, or fringe playoff. They just brought in PK Subban. They have Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes. They have a lot of exciting young pieces in New Jersey. They just can't put it together. They have no goalie now. They cut Corey Schneider. It's been disappointing to watch the Devils as a third party, so I can only imagine what it's been like to be a fan. But they have a lot of young pieces that you have to like. You have to enjoy watching the young players on that team. But for whatever reason, the Devils cannot put it together and be successful with that team. I think there are a very large number of organizations that would kill to have the young talent that the Devils have. They even have solid defense, young defense, mixed with skillful veterans. There's no reason this team should be dead last in the Metropolitan, but they are. And because they've proven that even with superior talent, they will underachieve, I'm putting them at draft purgatory. They're not going to make the playoffs. They might be there towards the end, but they're going to be towards the bottom of that race. And it's going to be, everything needs to go right. They need to win out, and they need to have 3 teams lose 3 games to just make the playoffs. It's not going to happen. And really, that should tell you all you need to know about the Metropolitan right there. Is they're the best team from last year, is a playoff lock. Third place is fringe playoff, and all the way to the bottom is draft purgatory. So the worst this division gets is they'll be in it towards the end. But the best that they get is that, yeah, they'll make playoffs, but I don't know if they're going to do anything. So the Metropolitan Division really is wide open. It'll be difficult to predict when I make my season predictions for actual standings, because this is just classifications. But I will make a real prediction. I'll put them 1, 2, 3, 4 in the rankings. This is going to be a tough one to pick. Right now, I think I have the Hurricanes slight edge over the Flyers to take the division, but we'll see what kind of moves these teams make as we get closer to the start of the season. That's all the time we have for today, so be sure to check me out tomorrow on Takeout Tuesday at 2. Also, Save Saturdays U, which will be changing its time. It's no longer going to be airing during the week. It'll be airing on either Saturday night or Sunday morning. It'll be a reaction show from the past week of college football. Save Saturdays OG podcast, which airs at 10 on Saturdays, will turn into the NFL and NCAA predictions show. So be on the lookout for those 2 podcasts coming down the pipe. And as always, check out the other podcasts we have on the podcast network: Drive the Greens with Ryan Bentz, the NASCAR show, and Boston Bias with Will Reason, all things Boston sports, and a significantly higher chunk of MLB action. So be sure to check out all the stuff we're working on at Save Saturdays, and always remember to save Saturdays.